For the next 3 days, young, inquisitive minds will immerse themselves in a competition of words and wit, but still united in the battle cry of saving and protecting lives. Now in its 5th year, the National Moot Court Competition welcomes law students representing their schools all over the country. A venue that allows them to put the skills they have learned in the classroom into practice.
Law students, by participating in this competition, will have a good feel of how it is to argue in court. They are arguing in a real court setting with actual judges. To be able to think quickly, depends on what is called for by the situation. Whether it's a question from the judge or it is an argument or a counter-argument to answer the other points raised by the other party.
At this year's competition site, the Philippine Christian University, participants will be tested on their knowledge of international humanitarian law, or IHL, a matter not given enough attention in law students' academic requirements.
Philippine law ang nabibigyan diin at ang international law, lalo-lalo na ang international humanitarian law, mas maliit ang panahon na nalalaan para dyan dahil hindi naman malaking bahagi ng bar examination ang international humanitarian law.
Still, IHL remains to be relevant, especially for Filipinos. At the core of IHL are the Geneva Conventions and their additional protocols, which embody the most important rules limiting the barbarity of war.
International humanitarian law is also known as the law of war or law of armed conflict. It contains rules which seeks to protect the victims of armed conflict and at the same time limit the means and methods of war. In the Philippine context, there is still an ongoing armed conflict. These law students or future lawyers, congressmen, or political leaders, then they can also be good advocates of international humanitarian law.
These treaties provide the best available framework for protecting civilians and those no longer participating in combat. The IHL becomes even more relevant in this era of globalization marked by political, social, and economic alliances among countries.
It is important to know international law because we will also be able to relate with how our law applies with the rest of the world and how the rest of the world and its laws apply to our local jurisdiction.
There is a growing opportunity for practice for lawyers in this field of international humanitarian law. It's important also to tell the students that there is a viable field of practice in the field of international law, specifically international humanitarian law, and that in fact their market is not just here in the Philippines, it can transcend national boundaries.
My father-in-law was Secretary of the College of Law.
I'm so happy that people are now aware of IHL. Bearing in mind that you are not talking law, you are talking human lives.
Though much has been said about the competition's importance on national and global levels, for the participants, the personal level is just as significant.
Besides learning more about IHL and learning argumentation techniques, also just being in the company of fellow students from other universities, it's really fulfilling and really rewarding to grow through their experiences as well, which you wouldn't be able to get if you were in your classroom only.
The night before, participants have received the written pleadings or memorials of their opponents on the moot problems given to them months in advance. Today, their thorough preparation is put to the test through the elimination rounds.
Prosecution prays that the accused, Mr. Albert Wiseman, be held criminally liable for...
It does not establish that there is a policy of extermination or killing of the civilian population.
I will address why Mr. Wiseman is also criminally liable for the crime against humanity.
In the elimination rounds, we have 16 teams, so you have 8 simultaneous rounds in the morning where one team would argue as applicant and the other team respondent. In the afternoon, they have to argue for another set, reversing the roles.
It is clear that formal nationalization is not the standard to be followed, but
Participants are under the strict scrutiny of the judges, a formidable bench of representatives from the academic, military, and humanitarian sectors.
What do you think would justify the group of Wiseman from those circumstances which resulted to several killings?
You have to be more responsive.
I noticed that when you use resources, you always have to follow it up first.
IHL is of great bearing to each of their professions, allowing their opinions to form a balanced judgment on the arguments.
Very challenging po. It tested our preparation, tapos yung judges talaga were very well acquainted with the facts of the case and with the theory. So we had quite a hard time defending our side.
As for the judges, the proceedings have gone fairly well.
Na-impress ako nung kanilang performance kanina, given na limited time pa rin, and yet they're able to make a very good case presentation on different jurisprudence na hindi lang sa Pilipinas, no? That includes also the special tribunals, for example, in Rwanda, and the ongoing International Criminal Court, ay napakalaking bagay para sa mga participants natin.
Probably for the weakness, because sometimes when they get excited, it is a tendency that some of the participants would speak really fast. But then when they go back to their own speeches, you would recognize that the pace would become slower again. So if they can be consistent with regard to their pace, we wouldn't know whether or not the part that they're talking about is something that they've already prepared or something that they are just addressing because it was asked of them by the judges.
At the end of the elimination rounds, the top 4 schools emerged from the 16. Tension fills the auditorium at the semi-finals the following day.
All rise. The court is now in session.
I will speak on the issue of unlawful confinement for 15 minutes.
Your Excellencies, Mr. Albert Wiseman is not liable for any of the incidents that occurred between May 5, 2007 to November 10 of 2007.
He, however, in this case, failed to prevent the CLA cadres from attacking the civilian residents, which led to the killings.
It is the only proof we have for now as presented by the council because he had a discussion with them.
This actually qualifying for the semifinals is actually a bonus for us because we didn't expect to qualify because it's our first time to join. So we're not actually expecting anything. We're just so happy to reach this. It's stressful, but it's fun.
31 December 2007, serious violations of international humanitarian law were committed in the province of Chengo. Innocent civilians were detained unlawfully.
Each and every element of this war crime must be proved beyond any reasonable doubt.
The most serious crimes of concern to the international community as a whole must not go unpunished.
Definitely more difficult.
More difficult. There's another level of intensity required for the semifinals now.
Armed conflict in this case has become international.
You know, I did my best and that's all that matters.
And I really commend the opposing team because they had done the job so well.
Certainly.
They may all have done their best, but in the end, there can be only 2 finalists.
The 2 teams that will qualify for the final round at the Supreme Court Entrance Session Hall are teams numbers 3 and 15.
Though victory is sweet, it is also short, with the finals round just moments away. And it takes place at the country's highest court, responsible for shaping the law of our land.
The Supreme Court has been actively supporting the promotion and understanding of international humanitarian law, and to date, the National Moot Court competition is the only competition allowed to hold its final round at the Supreme Court En-banc Session Hall.
In such an awe-inspiring environment, no less than a Supreme Court justice sits as presiding judge.
The Honorable Associate Justice Roberto A. Abad.
I had to have control of the proceedings to see to it that it runs smoothly, and also to enable the judges to ask questions, so there will be a lively interaction and that no time is wasted. Preparedness, organized thoughts, delivery, and quick thinking. The things I look for.
The court is now in session.
The competition heats up as Ateneo de Manila first presents its case, followed by the University of San Carlos.
Even the defense, Your Excellencies, admits that General Taricana was appointed through the power of Mr. Albert Weissman.
The perpetrators therein were aware that their attacks were part of, or intended their acts to be part of, a systematic or widespread attack directed against the civilian population.
The 2,500 casualties were the result of clashes between killings of 2 groups consisting of Megami and best friends between people.
There is nothing that would show that Negostan had a role in organizing, coordinating, or planning the military activities. But here it's only 500. That's why I want an authority.
The factors of each case must be analyzed on a case-to-case basis.
Mr. Weissman should not be held liable.
Prosecution remains firm in its stand that Mr. Weissman can be held liable to this crime.
Case is submitted for resolution.
Though rivals in the court, both schools are partners in this enriching experience, bringing out the fighting best in each other.
I was so jittery and I don't know what to say in front of the judges, and I'm here in the Supreme Court. That adds so much more to the nervousness that I'm feeling. And as to our performance, I say that it was okay.
How many people can say that they've been inside this room and actually argued before? I mean, even if we're even facing a Supreme Court justice, it was so challenging and yet fulfilling to engage them on that level.
I was quite satisfied with the performance of the students and surprised with their competence. Because the Supreme Court wants to invest in the future. We cannot reap unless we sow. Ang long-term goal natin is, of course, to make our lawyers dynamic, able to adjust to the changing needs of our time.
Before the grand winner is announced, other awards are first distributed.
From the University of Cebu, Philippine University, Ateneo de Manila University. Council applicant is the first counsel for the applicant.
Finally, the moment of truth has arrived.
And this year's champion of the 2009 National Moot Court Competition on International Humanitarian Law and Philippine representative to the 2010 Red Cross Moot Court Competition on IHL in Hong Kong, China is team number 3, Ateneo de Manila University.
Unbelievable.
Sobrang ecstatic and overwhelmed.
I'm at a loss for words for the first time in 2 days. It's very, very fulfilling for us, and this is such a worthwhile experience, and we do it again in a heartbeat.
The winning school has the honor of representing the country at the regional moot court competition organized by the Hong Kong Red Cross the following year.
They're good talkers, so they have a competitive advantage. When you can see it even in the regional, the last year in Hong Kong, the Filipinos won the best mooters awards. They have, they have good chance, and they can compare very well with other teams from other regions.
An international armed conflict.
I would hope that they would appreciate the need to further protect innocent people in times of armed conflict, and that I would hope that they would become agents of the law, in promoting the rule of law, even in the darkest period of our history when there is in fact armed conflicts.
I think everyone should play their role in trying to alleviate suffering and doing something for society. And being a law student, I think we're in a better position since we know the laws. We're learning international law, and we can do more in terms of helping those people who are in need, especially in terms of application YHL.
Ateneo de Manila may be taking home the trophy today, but hopefully the rest of the participants have gained their own reward, the knowledge that even wars have limits, and the hope that they can be part of ensuring better implementation of this law, something needed by the thousands of people affected by armed conflict every day.